Guys, I think it's just safe for me to admit that at this point, I might be broken. I think I need to get checked out because let's get into it. And welcome to my Safe Gayven, everybody. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video and joining me for another review here on the BlackGayComicGeek channel. If this is your first time checking out my channel, let me introduce myself. My name is Michael. I call myself the Black Gay Comic Geek because I'm black, I'm gay, and I like comics. And I love to say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. So I like to talk superheroes, video games, action movies, fantasy, all of that stuff. And I like to talk about black representation and queer representation. So if that's something that you're interested in, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Both of them will help with the YouTube algorithm and helping my channel to grow. But guys, we are here to talk. I guess I'll get into spoilers for Loki episode 5 called Science Fiction. So let's get into episode 5 of Loki. This is the penultimate episode because next week is the season finale of season 2. Are we going to get a season 3? Who knows? And so this episode picks up pretty much right where episode 4 ended, where the multiverse is basically collapsing. The TVA is being destroyed, all of that stuff. But right before the TVA destroys itself, Loki discovers he still has that time slipping ability that was introduced in season 1. And I remember, if you haven't seen my review and my discussion about the first 4 episodes of Loki season 2, click the link up here. But I would say one of my biggest issues is like, why introduce this time slipping ability only for it to be removed in 1 episode? And of course, I knew they were going to bring it back because, again, why introduce it for them not to bring it back? But then this is the episode conveniently right before the world is about to end, or the multiverse is about to end, that this time slipping ability comes back. And so Loki ends up time slipping through the TVA. He ends up seeing a version of himself again, the time slip, and he ends up seeing Mobius. And I'm not sure if this was the Mobius that we know or a variant of Mobius, or he sees Hunter B-15, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he's just trying to get them back together. And none of them have their memory. None of them remember their time in the TVA. And so he's trying to get them back together to save the TVA. And the multiverse is basically collapsing around him. And by the end of the episode, I know I'm speeding through it, but I'm going to get through it one by one. But by the end of the episode, he realizes that he can control his time slipping abilities. He basically is a time god, more or less, now. And he's going to use that ability to rewrite the multiverse, rewrite time, and end up saving the multiverse. And in some ways, it kind of touches on him because, you know, the episode ends with him saying, I can save everything. I can go back and rewrite the story, or something along those lines. And it kind of goes into him in his current incarnation in the comics, where he's no longer the god of mischief, he's the god of stories. And so now Loki is being the one to tell the story. So we're finally, for the most part, getting to Loki being the one that's driving the narrative, as opposed to him just being there. Now he's driving the narrative because he's the one that can change and control the timeline. And honestly, like, the episode, let me say this, the episode is gorgeous. The way it's filmed, especially once you get into like the way when everybody was spaghettifying and the disappearing of the time stream, or like that moment with the guy pouring the coffee at the end, and the way that looked, and like all of that, I think looks gorgeous. And the score and the ominous way everything was sounding when the multiverse was collapsing, like all of that is great and all. But honestly, while watching this episode, like I was falling asleep while watching this episode. And I was watching this episode with a friend of mine. We both started at the same time. And then we were just texting each other. And he was like, yeah, I'm actually on Twitter right now. I'm barely paying attention. And I was like, yeah, I'm falling asleep while everything is happening. Like, and so I say all that to say, it's like, yeah, it's gorgeous. I'm somewhat interested and invested, but I don't know what it is about this season or just the way the show is structured. But I'm finding myself not really caring. I don't know why. Like, I don't care. And I think part of the reason for my reaction is it took 2 seasons of the show and 5 episodes to really start to dial and get some character moments from these characters. Like, for the first time, in 5 episodes, this is really a moment where we got to learn a little bit more about Loki's insight and his psyche, and like why he's working so hard to save the TVA is because he wants to stick around and be around Mobius and Hunter B-15, Casey, even Ouroboros, because he feels like, because remember, this is not the Loki that we've been following throughout the entire MCU. This is the Loki taken straight from the Battle of New York. So this is Loki at his most evil. And on the flip side of that, this is also the same Loki at his most good. And he's saying that these people make him good. These people are the ones that have given him a chance, that have looked out for him, that had faith in him. And so because of that, and he also doesn't have the baggage of being adopted, you know, look, his brother being the one that's his favorite, yada, yada, yada. So because of that, Loki's actually changed and become a good person because of these characters. And so he wants them back. And so that's why he's working so hard to save the TVA so he can save them. And it also goes like him and Sylvie had a conversation. It was like, yeah, at the end of the day, see, you're selfish, just like me. Lokis are selfish. Lokis are inherently selfish. And so he's not trying to save the TVA because he wants to save the multiverse. He wants to save his friends. And so I like those moments and that moment that we got from Loki. But like, I feel like it took too long to get there. We didn't get that. Because one of my biggest complaints and things about when I was talking about the first 4 episodes, where I was just like, what about Loki have we not learned, or have we learned in this series? We're in 2 seasons now. What have we learned that we didn't already know? And even with this conversation, like, I appreciated it, but what am I learning that I didn't already know? Like, we already knew that these people are making him better. So it's not like we're actually learning something new, but at least we still got to get some insight. And then even when it comes to Sylvie, we still haven't really learned that much about Sylvie. We learned that Mobius has 2 kids, 2 boys. We learned Hunter B-15 was a doctor in her previous life. We learned that Casey, who, and this is actually an Easter egg, because they called him Frank, and he was escaping from Alcatraz. That's actually based in real life. There was a character or a real life person named Frank something. I don't know what his real name is or his last name is. Him and 2 other guys escaped from Alcatraz, and they never found the body. They never were heard from. They don't know if they actually made it out or whatever. It's assumed that they probably drowned in the river because the river is extremely cold, supposedly. But they never found the body, so they don't know what happened to them. And that's based in reality. So that was kind of a nod to real life, you know, moments, because especially considering like he was taken away from the timeline. Like, so they never found the body. So turns out real life Frank is in the TVA. So, I mean, I like that, but still at the same time, like, I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. And this is me supposed to be a reviewer. And I'm just like, I feel like I can't, because I don't know what it is. I'm just not that invested. Now, granted, I will say, because I wasn't a big fan of Loki Season 1 for almost the same reasons, but I will say that I do like Season 2 more than I like Season 1, because I just feel like there are more interesting things happening in Season 2 than in Season 1, because with Season 1, especially considering like, and then this is also goes the big thing about like how I get annoyed with this whole idea of representation and yada, yada, yada. Like they made this whole big stink about, oh, it's been revealed that Loki's actually bisexual. And granted, I get, like, because you're going to be like, oh, some people are like, oh, when would that play into the story? Or why would that play into, but it's still like, there's not even a reference to it or anything like, and that's not to say that's why I don't like this season. I'm just saying like, if the character's supposed to be bi or queer, like, let it play into the story at least. Like, otherwise, then what's the point of bringing it up? But like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not that invested, at least the characters. I'm invested in what's happening with the multiverse because that affects the greater Marvel universe. But in terms of these characters and these stakes, I'm not that invested in the characters. Actually, no, as I'm talking through it, I think that's what it is. That's why I'm like, I don't really care. I think I'm more invested in what's happening around the characters than what's happening to the characters and the characters themselves. And so because there's so much focus on like the characters and getting them back and yada, 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 I'm just like, I don't really care about like what's happening with the multiverse and all that. So I think, and I'm obviously interested in Loki because I've spent more with his character and I've learned more about his character outside of this show. But yeah, I think that's basically what that is. I'm more invested in what's happening with the TVA and the multiverse aspect of it all than these. And not to say I don't like these characters. I do like these characters, but we're not learning anything about these characters. And speaking of the whole multiverse of it all, I said multiverse. Speaking of the whole multiverse of it all, I am kind of curious and I am wondering how, and if it is like season 1 of Loki, more than likely I'm gonna like the season finale, just because, like, I think about season 1, my favorite episode and the episode I was most invested in of season 1 was the last episode. So I'm assuming that'll probably end up being the case for this episode. Who knows? We'll see. But I am kind of curious to see how it's going to end, because ultimately when you think about how last episode ended, basically the TVA was destroyed. The multiverse is collapsing at this point. We kind of see that in this episode where Loki went to other branch timelines, and eventually those universes started to collapse as well because the entire multiverse is collapsing. However, with Loki's new ability to time travel, basically, he has the ability to time travel, and is more powerful than regular time travel because he has the ability to time travel within the TVA, time slip within the TVA, which is said to be impossible because the TVA is in a place that's beyond time, and yet Loki's still able to travel and time travel in a place that's beyond time and space. So it kind of makes me wonder, because we've learned in Avengers Endgame that when you change the past, you basically create a new universe. So like, this is the universe that you're currently in, but if you change something, it doesn't change this universe, it creates a new universe. But by the end of Loki episode 4, we saw that the multiverse is being destroyed. So essentially, if Loki stops that and becomes and creates a new universe while all of this gets destroyed over here, does that basically mean Loki is the new god of the new universe? Is he the one who remains is he going to become the one who remains at the end of time from this point forward? Is he going to replace Jonathan Majors as Kang? But then, how's that? Because if the multiverse is collapsing, doesn't that mean all the other Kang variants die as well? I don't know. I'm curious to see how that's going to end and how that's going to change. Does that also put Loki on a much higher tier? I'm assuming it has to, right? That puts Loki on a much higher tier in the pantheon of, because technically he is a god, but he's going to be an even higher case god, a more capital god, as opposed to him currently, he's a lowercase god by the end of this show and series. But you would think with his ability to time travel now, maybe he would go back to the Battle of Endgame to stop himself, or to reestablish his relationship with his father and brother, since he's a good guy now. But granted, they don't have a budget for that. To bring Chris Hemsworth back, to bring why can't Anthony Hopkins for Odin, his mother. He knows his mother's gonna die. Is he gonna save his? They're not gonna do that. They don't have the budget for that. They're gonna focus on the TVA and these characters. But like I said, I'm still interested to see where it goes and where it ends and what it does for the greater Marvel universe. But yeah, but the show in and of itself, it's beautiful. It's shot good. The score, all of that stuff. For me personally, I'm just like, I'll put it this way, because I don't hate it. But I'll put it this way. I'm not waking up well, it doesn't come out at 3 a.m. like WandaVision did. But I think it drops at 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. I'm not sitting down waiting for the clock to tick down for 9 o'clock. I'm just like, oh, Loki's out. I guess I'll check it out. But with that said, I could be in the minority. Maybe I am in the minority, because I do see a lot of people gushing about this particular episode online. So what do you think about this episode of Loki? Do you feel the same way as me? Do you feel the complete opposite of me? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Let me know all of your thoughts and let's talk about it. Also, if you can, hit that thumbs up button and like this video. Hit the thumbs up button. It'll help with the YouTube algorithm, getting this video out there, get my channel out there so I can continue to grow. And if this is your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel and tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.